recording room has done for music. But there's also another key player in the commercial music arena. You know, when they say that video killed the radio star, they may not have been too far off from the truth. Gone are the days when a musical artist could be promoted over the airwaves. Today, it's not enough to be heard. To sell your music, you now have to let the pictures do the talking. Yes, we're talking about music television, a contradiction in terms. It has become the new frontier for a musician to reach out to millions. And the music video has become a tantalizing new medium of expression.
It is a contradiction in the sense that, yeah, music is something you hear and TV is something you see. But I think that's just the nature of the game as it's evolved today. I think we're living in an age where we want it all in one time. You know, we want all the senses to be entertained at any given point. And now you can't imagine music without having visuals to it. I mean, it's very difficult to, because the image and the way they look has become so integral to the way you perceive the sound is going to sound. It's actually the way you look at sound now. You know, that's the way it is.
For better or worse, music videos have made a performer's presentation the focal point rather than his music. Does this mean that we value style over substance?
Certainly, it's so much about imaging and it's so much about how you project yourself than the talent itself.
There was this video invasion, like Pakistanis never had a thing before and they went crazy with it. A similar thing could happen if an artist, a painter, is forced, realizes one day that my paintings are only going to sell if I sing a good song with it. You know, he's an artist. It should have nothing to do with sound. So for a musician to have 97-98% to do with images, it's a train wreck. It's a mess. It's an accident which shouldn't have happened.
There is a point there because really a singer is singing and he's singing primarily to be heard. But don't forget one thing, when you're singing live, you're also being seen. So we're also going to the concept of a singer being, originally singers sang, before radio came on, singers sang to an audience, right? And the way you looked and the way you sang and the amount of confidence you had made a difference because you were a performer. Because remember, you're communicating, and whether that's on a stage where people are seeing you or whether that's on a TV screen, it's the same thing. So yes, unfortunately, you'll have to make a painting to sell your singing.
And perhaps there's nothing wrong with this arrangement. With a perfect and punchy piece of music coming out of the recording studio and a tantalizing video to sell it, we're getting more bang for every buck. Which brings us to the question, is our music industry really as good as it's made out to be? How many of our artists would be able to survive outside the walls of the recording studio?
A lot of them won't, no. And they know it.
I think they do really well, because in the absence of all these things, they'd be forced to play live and only live. And the more they do it, the better they'd get. And a different kind of an environment would kind of crop up.
But I think there are still a lot of people out there who make music really because they love music and want to make music. And there are a lot of people out there who want to make music because they think it's a good career and it'll sell and it'll work.
So what is the fuss really about? Are we just holding on to tradition at the expense of something new? Or can performing live actually give us something that the recording room doesn't?
So when you're recording, you don't improvise primarily. That's the problem, which I was having. because then I had tasted that freedom. I loved improvising.
So people only improve in music through playing live. You know, that is the only way, because that's what you want to improve on.
The more you play, the more you practice your instrument, the more comfortable you get. And when you are at a point where you're doing a live show, you have the ability to be spontaneous about it.
Music is about connecting. It's not about freeze-drying something at home and then acting it out on stage like a robot.
The moment I started singing live, I realized I never wanted to go back into the studio, ever, because you cannot recreate what you create there.
You cannot contrive art. You cannot contrive beauty. You cannot say, okay, I'm going to make this thing and it's going to be beautiful. Sometimes it happens that way, but however, if you are relying on your sense of spontaneity and you are responding to the music that you're hearing inside of you, then the most amazing things can happen.
Live performance, or a creation of the recording room, or even an MTV sensation. The fact is that the musical arena has expanded, giving artists a much larger playing field. But it's up to them where they choose to stand in it. There are purists on both sides, some clinging on to tradition, and others who are raring to go with the new. But many who have found a place to stand somewhere in between. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. I'm Saira Akhtar. Be sure to tune in to us again next week on The Looking Glass.